MPN's Power Player is sponsored by ZDMS Dealer Management System, the heart of technology in your dealership and the engine that drives productivity and profitability. Schedule a demo today at zdms.com.
Hey MPN fans, I'm Megan Cusack, editor of Motorcycle and Powersports News, and welcome to another episode of MPN Power Players. In December, BRP celebrated 20 years as an independent company. So in recognition of that, we're speaking today with Sandy Scullion, president of Powersports and Marine for BRP. Sandy, it's so good to see you, and thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me, Megan.
So to get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this industry?
Oh boy, that started a long time ago. Actually, I feel like I was born on a snowmobile. My father had a 1968 moto ski, and for the family, obviously, and with the four brothers I had, I ended up doing the mechanic on that snowmobile more than I was actually riding it. So yeah, I started as a DSM for Bombardier back in the time, and responsible for the northeastern Quebec network, I would say. And I got to admit, I would have probably worked for free for the first year. You know, Bombardier is a big name, was a big name, still is today in Quebec, and working for this multinational and having to deal with snowmobiles and the Maxis and, selling this to the dealers, for me was just a super privileged. So obviously that's how I started my career. And then I would say almost clockwork, 3 years at a time, worked my way up, changed roles, and obviously touched a lot of things from sales, distribution, marketing, product development, and so on, up to now being in charge of both power sports and marine. So it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Actually, so speaking of rides, you said you were basically like born on a snowmobile. Are you still riding snowmobiles? Are you riding anything else?
Oh, I've got pretty much all the products that we could offer. I still ride deep snow snowmobiling up north in Quebec.
Nice.
So this is probably, if I had to choose, one of my favorite products in all the portfolio we have, just because I've been born on a snowmobile. That would be the product, obviously.
Nice. Yeah, snowmobiles are a completely foreign concept to me, being down in the deep south where I am. I don't think we have ever gotten more than like 2 inches of snow down here, so I can't even imagine, but it sounds so much fun.
It is, and this industry has been, evolving so much technology wise. From the '70s to the '80s, to the '90s, and then big transformation in the 2000 in terms of the platforms themselves and the engine, the technology around injection, and so on. And last year, as you know, we launched the first electric snowmobile that has hit the market
Yes.
this winter. So looking at the evolution of that industry is just amazing. So
Hmm.
the obviously,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I would say in terms of the passion that exists in our customers, also our dealers, actually. It's this yellow blood flowing in our veins, which is a little bit of the culture of BRP today, right? It's and I tell this story a lot, but this winning attitude we have at BRP, which relate to the culture and that yellow blood. It's this winning on Sunday on races and selling on Monday attitude that's always been there for us. And that comes from the snowmobile business. It obviously applied to all the other products line we have in our portfolio today, but that's a legacy or the DNA that actually drives us every morning.
Very nice. So, okay, so you've spoken about how the industry is evolving, and BRP seems to be evolving too. You recently went through an organizational change, and you've now been named the president of the Powersports and Marine Group. So, what exactly is changing about your job, and what does this recent reorganization spell for BRP's future at large?
Marine is the new division under me today. And as you probably are aware, a couple of years ago when we decided to launch the buy, build, and transform program for Marine. So the first step was the acquisition of the Manitou brand, the Alumacraft, and then the Quintrex brand in Australia. Second step was the build, right? This is put our own DNA in the boats themselves. And because obviously that takes time. So it's typically a 30 to 36 months cycle of developing a brand new platform, brand new product, which we launched the new Manitou last year, actually. And the timing of this is like for any either new business or initiative or smaller business, you want to isolate the business so that it can actually has more freedom to change and to build to a certain maturity. But now in the transform phase, it is time now that we put that business into let's call it the bigger machine, right? Which we have at Powersports. So in terms of the product cycle and the maturity of the business, the time was just perfect for us to take on a more focused approach in bringing the marine business at the next level, obviously. Now, that being said, in the last spring, we were a bit late in delivering the boats to the market. The market was not the best year for the marine business. So it wasn't, I would say, the best launch of Manitou. So I guess the timing of all this with kind of the course correction we wanted to, or we need to do as we speak, to make sure we come out of this cycle stronger for next fall was perfectly the right timing for us to take that on. And at the same time, in terms of my responsibilities, I used to have the manufacturing for Powersports, but for the same reason of focus, now the marine manufacturing operations are under the same individual now on the management committee of our CEO. So that provides a focus on the manufacturing side and an enhanced focus as well on the commercial side. So that's the reason, or those are the reasons behind the change.
Okay.
And
Very good.
Just to add on this, Megan, it's the marine business for BRP is a huge growth vector, right? The ORV business is the one which has the most momentum as we speak. But the marine business, we're still relatively small to the size of the industry. We're going after a $36 billion industry. This is actually bigger than Powersports, right? So it is key for us to make sure that we put that business on track, and then we go for the number one position like we are in most of our brands on the Powersports side.
Always a good goal to strive for. Absolutely.
As many of you know, taking physical inventory is something you do once, maybe twice a year, and sometimes you avoid it altogether. With large quantities of parts, accessories, chemicals, tires, and various other merchandise throughout your store, it's not a simple task to complete. There is a better solution. A solution that gives you the ability to cycle inventory counts anytime without disruption to your business. That solution? ZDMS RFID Physical Inventory. With RFID tags placed on inventory, you can cycle counts or conduct physical inventory with a RFID handheld scanner by simply pulling the trigger and walking around your dealership. RFID scanners do not require line of sight, so counters don't need to bend down under partitions, climb shelves, or position items to be visually seen to be counted in most cases. Contact your ZDMS representative to learn more about RFID physical inventory and how ZDMS is the only dealer management system in the powersports industry building the technology your dealership needs.
So, you've had this really long career here at BRP. Changes are afoot, but kind of stepping back, looking at the last 30 years or so, what have been some of your greatest accomplishments with BRP during that time?
Listen, there's at least two I would want to call out. Obviously, 30 years is long, but we don't have that much time on this podcast, so I'll choose two of them. The first one I would say I'm mostly proud of, and it all started in 2007 when I was in charge of the PA&A business, is this notion of accessorization, right? And how do we create this link between, without playing with words though, because we have the link accessories, but this link between when we develop a new platform, how do we make this new platform much better integrated with the accessories that come with it, right? And back then in 2007, it was a very small business for us. It was in the tens of billions of dollars, the accessory business, and portfolio was super small. And today it's $500 million, right? So, and when you look at the portfolio of accessories, the innovation we brought with the Link system, that's the quick attach system that we have, the extension of usage of all of our products through different accessories, whether it's through plows, kits, the winterization of ATVs, side-by-sides, and how we have our cargoes on snowmobile in very rough environments. And I mean, to me, this is a big turnaround. And to be honest, at the time in 2007, the inspiration came a little bit from Harley Davidson, right? This idea of not having one vehicle being the same on off-road or on-road or whatever. And so this is at the point where we invested significantly in accessory engineering, convinced the engineering unit side of the business to actually design for accessorization. This was a concept at BRP that lasted for years, and today we keep stepping up in terms of accessory integration in every new platform we bring to the market, and that has a lot of value for our customers and our dealers as well, obviously. With quick attach systems, not everything coming from the factory, but also giving the opportunity for our dealers to actually upsell the accessories and so on and so forth, right? So that to me is the first one. And the second one, as an OEM in Powersports, this transformation on not being a wholesale-driven organization, but being a retail-driven organization, which when I first started this role at Global Retail and Services in 2016, that was for me a change of mindset as well, where this is not about the wholesale, but this is about the lead generation, how our dealers are able to convert these leads into retail sales, and how we support them with all kinds of tools so that at the end of the day, what we care is about the retail side, not the wholesale side. So for us internally, it might sound obvious for some of you, but that was a big transformation internally.
Very good. Yeah, that's all excellent to hear there. So, again, kind of looking, at the big picture here, what would you say is your favorite part about working in the powersports industry?
I mean, obviously, the product itself is, we remain today a product company, right? We always say at BRP, product is king, and this is a little bit of our DNA, the innovation in whatever we do. We don't like to do things like the others. We challenge ourselves on new architectures. For me, obviously the three-wheel business is a good example of that. Didn't exist before. We brought that to the market, innovating with new categories like Spark for watercraft. Actually, after so many years of industry downturn in watercraft, after the Spark, actually, again, without playing with words, sparked the industry. And that industry at that point, from the launch of that platform, started growing again. The latest one, the Maverick R, which is a For me, this is a engineering marvel with DCT transmission, 240 horsepower for 1 liter. Nobody does that, not even in the automobile industry. So for me, what drives us at BRP is the product of innovation. Obviously, is the probably the number one priority, but it's also our pride, right? It's again back to winning on Sunday and selling on Monday. This winning attitude of being the best out there in terms of performance, whether it's for speed, whether it's for suspension, whether it's for utility purposes. There's always a way to measure ourselves in terms of performance, and we just love that.
Absolutely. I mean, just the way the speed with which technology has been changing the last few years is incredible. And you look back at vehicle models just, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, and seeing the changes from then to now is absolutely incredible. I love to see it. Um, so now you've had this long career in power sports, but what advice would you have for perhaps people who are new to the power sports industry and looking to dig deeper into it?
I mean, there's not a lot of industry I know. Obviously, a little bit biased. I've been 30 years within this industry, but again, somebody looking at our industry, I don't think nobody can realize the level of passion that exists through the whole chain, right? From employees,
Mhm.
from our dealers that are passionate about the business, the products, and the industry itself, and acting in their communities, and but also our customers. I mean, we have people with tattoos of our brand. I mean, how many
Yeah.
other brands in other industries can you actually see this? So somebody that comes in our industry, I would tell them, brace yourself. You're in for quite a ride, but also it is important that we always remain close to our stakeholders, and those being obviously our suppliers, but our dealers. Our network is probably, other than our brands, one of the biggest assets we have in our hands. But also being close to what the customer wants, while being able to innovate and bring new needs in the market. It's quite a it's quite an interesting business to be in, and obviously at BRP on top of it, we like to win. So, um, and what's really interesting and what we've lived and what we've learned during COVID is it's the number of new entrants in our business. Um, we were all a little bit surprised, right, with staycation phenomenon. Nobody's traveling anymore. People are moving out of the city, and suddenly they need an ATV, they need a side by side, they need a snowmobile because they're not in the city anymore. So this actually opened our eyes on on a customer base that is actually wider than we originally thought. The power sports industry is like, what is it, 0.5% of the general population that actually owns a power sports or buys a power sports unit in a year. Um, Doubling this is only 1% of the population, and this is actually doubling our opportunity. So we got a little bit of a taste of this during COVID, which for us brings a new dimension on how we market our products. Who do we target?
Mhm.
Who do we actually compete with? Is it our OEM competitors, or it's actually the travel industry, as an example, right? So it opens a completely new side of the business. So we welcome new entrants in our business, obviously as a customer, but also as far as employees, to keep our eyes open on this new, I would say, this new set of opportunities.
Well, speaking of new opportunities and looking ahead to the future, what do you look forward to personally, professionally, or even as an industry in the next few years?
Well, we're at, I would say, crossroads on a couple of subjects. First off, I think every OEM is in the same boat in terms of the digital transformation, right? How we
Mhm.
set up ourselves so that we're able to answer the customer, the not only the digital customer expectations, but also the physical ones. So how do we bring these two worlds together? Is certainly a challenge, but also a big opportunity. And this I'm looking forward to. We're just at the beginning of this in terms of our investments, our initiatives, and so on. So we're going to see a lot coming from this industry in terms of the digital transformation. But the other one that is an obvious one is the EV transformation. How is that going to play
Yes.
out? Right? At the same time, it's a big opportunity for BRP because technology wise, uh, it's everybody's at the starts at the same base, right? And I'll give the
Mhm.
example of motorcycle, right? Re-entering the two-wheel business with a combustion engine technology would have been, a challenge because obviously our competitors have been doing that for quite a while. But doing it on the EV technology is a completely different game, and we believe that we have the right approach. We chose to do this much more vertically than many of our competitors. On an EV, there's the charger, the inverter, the battery, the motor, and we see, a, we see all sorts of combination of how OEMs are approaching this in terms of vertically integration or not. And so as we launch or did the soft launch on the two-wheel business a couple of years ago, by the way, our first motorcycle are going to be in production at the end of this year. And we believe that we have the right recipe to be the leader in EV in power sports as we go on because of our choices we made 3 years ago and how we approach this technology. So this is a very exciting transformation. That being said, I don't believe that everything is going to convert to EV,
Mhm.
given the power density that is required and the range that is required in certain of our vehicles, whether it's utility, whether it's for deep snow riding in the mountains. There will be combustion engines for a long time still today, at least with the existing technology that comes from the EV world. But we need to learn from that business, from the EV world. We need to understand how this is going to appeal to a new crowd of customers as well. So there's going to be a lot of learning into this, but we believe we're set for a very interesting ride in that aspect.
Absolutely. Definitely some exciting times ahead for both BRP and the industry as a whole. Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you, Megan. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for watching this episode of Power Players. Be sure to check out BRP's product lines for ways to have fun on snow, water, asphalt, and dirt. And stay tuned to MPN for more motorcycle and power sports news. We'll see you next time.